What's up, guys? It's Toad back with you for Monday, April 14th. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Bad weekend, 2 losing days. I mean, not like massive losing days, but not great. Yesterday, of course, that money line play on the Dodgers kind of screwed me. Dodgers owe me money, man. What else can I say about that? Yesterday, I think I went 5-6, but that one kind of made it a little bit worse. I mean, we started out with the Brooklyn Nets, and they looked like they were going to win that game outright against the Knicks. They had the lead for most of the game outright, and they fell apart and didn't even cover the plus 6.5. That line was down to 4.5 when the game tipped off, so I still beat the closing number on that. People who got like the 8 early on pushed on the game. I don't know. It might have been higher than 8 actually to start. So some people might have won on that game if they got in really early on the Nets. Just pretty bad because I absolutely think Brooklyn should have covered that number. Washington Wizards did cover and win outright, so that was decent. To start the day with those 1-1 with that money line cash wasn't bad. Dallas Mavericks, they can get fucked, obviously. They got annihilated. We did hit on the under in the Pirates-Reds game, but lost on the under in the Yankees game as both pitchers just kind of did mediocre, and that just kind of ended that play, unfortunately. Washington Nationals money line play didn't get there, man, and that sucked because Washington was winning that game early. I think first 5 would have at least pushed. I'm pretty sure. I think it was a tied game after that, so that's brutal. Red Sox, White Sox under definitely got there. As Garrett Crochet took a no-hitter into the 8th inning, I think, before he gave up a run with 1 out in the 8th inning, or gave up a hit, with 1 run in the 8th inning. I think the White Sox did score 1 run there at that point. Detroit, Minnesota under hit as well. So let me see. I'm just trying to tally these here. So that was 3-2 in baseball. So that added up to a 4-4 at that point. Milwaukee made it 5-4 as they covered first 5 innings. That was one of those ones that makes you feel like a genius because the starting pitching matchup was really the big part of that handicap. I mean, all my games today have to do with the starting pitching matchup. They're all baseball sides. I got 5 of them. They're all based on the starting pitching matchup. But that one I had to exclude Milwaukee's bullpen after what they had done the previous game. That was an extreme circumstance, and their bullpen sucks anyway. And if that was a situation where my bet won, Milwaukee was winning 2-1 through 5 innings, and then they didn't score again, and they lost 5-2 full games. That was one of those crazy ones where the first 5 inning play makes you feel genius. I shouldn't have added the Mets A's over, as that made it 5-5 on the day. Still almost got there, even though that game was, I think, 1-0 into the 7th inning. The Mets proceeded to score 7 more runs in the last 2 innings and make it an 8-run game, but it still fell 1 short. And that was just a bad one on my part. I shouldn't have added. I would have had a much lesser losing day. But, I mean, the big loss was the Dodgers. I mean, that was just, I don't know how they didn't bounce back from that. And it looked like they were going to win the game at various points. As Glasnow pitched well, it's just Armstrong or whatever his name is hit 2 home runs off of him, I'm pretty sure. 2 solo shots. And after the first one, the Dodgers came right back and put runners on second and third. They scored 1 on a sac fly. And that was with no outs. So that was the first out. Then they got a runner on third with 1 out. So it's like, all right, just put it in play. You'll get another run. And Kike Hernandez, former Red Sox, lined it pretty hard down the third baseline, but right at the third baseman, basically, and it was caught. So that was very unfortunate. So they were tied at that point. So it's like, all right, Dodgers, they're the better team. They got the better bullpen. They should be able to do this down the stretch. No, they didn't do it. They gave up that other home run, which actually I don't think it was Glasnow at that point. I think it was one of the relievers gave up the second home run to Armstrong, but whatever. Unfortunately, I had the game on over here. It was just bad times, man. And now it's apparently gone to a screensaver over there. I don't know what's going on now, but I've got those Google pictures up. At least they look pretty. Unlike me and my bets yesterday, man. So Dodgers, that was bad, man. I just wanted to get my money on them in some way. I thought it was a good spot. Really a pitching mismatch, and it did not wind up that way. So let's move on to today, man. Let's see. And the Dodgers wound up losing that game 4-2, I think. All right. And we have a NHL first up. We have a short board today, man. NBA is off today. We only have NHL and Major League Baseball, both short cards. Major League Baseball short card on a Monday. First game up, I actually have a play. This is my only NHL play of the day. Let me get to it right now. That is Montreal. I'm going to play on the puck line, even though I know they need to win the game. They don't need to win by margin, but I think this is a spot where you can play the puck line and you can get it done here with a team that's in the way better spot, better motivational angle. And the Chicago Blackhawks, they give up a lot of goals, man, and they give up more shots on goal than any team in hockey. So I think it is okay just because of the amount of shots that they give up and how bad their defense is, that I think it is actually okay to lay a price like this on Montreal. This game, Chicago, I mean, they got nothing left to play for, obviously. They're eliminated, but they're coming off a huge game at home where I had them, and they covered the puck line for me against Winnipeg. Huge game to finish the season against a team that basically has the best record in hockey, man. Against Winnipeg, they took them to a shootout and lost in a shootout to basically the best team in hockey, and now they just have 2 games on the road to finish the season. So I think it's a bad spot for Chicago. Put in that all-in effort for their final home game there against Winnipeg. Great team, and just fell short, and that's about it. Montreal, they got to win, man, because as you can see here, as far as the wild card standings are concerned, Columbus won again yesterday. So I was right about Columbus. I wasn't right about the Devils yesterday, and I was right about the Bruins. The market, I believe, was right about Edmonton yesterday. So unfortunately, I did not play Columbus again yesterday when they needed the game. The money was coming in on them, and they did stay alive. But what that means is now Montreal's only 3 points ahead of Columbus. So Montreal's got to win to get this done, man, and secure this wild card spot. So they got to do it. It does mean the pressure is on them, and you are playing a team under pressure that's not used to this, really, that is a huge favorite. But I like this. I think Montreal, they were on this big hot streak, man, and then they lost the hot streak with that loss to Ottawa, who's in the other wild card spot right now. That was a big game. And when you're winning like that, losing a game like that can kind of hang you over into the next game. They still actually played pretty well in this game against Toronto. I know they're playing a third game in 4 days. I know they're returning home from a road trip, but the road trip only took them to Ontario, man. So it's like, it's not like they're traveling very far. It was only a quick 2-game road trip. Yeah, the third game in 4 days is difficult, but I think they know Carolina is going to be a pretty difficult ask, even though Carolina is not really going to have anything to play for at that point. They got to get this win against Chicago, man. I think they know that, even though, again, that does put the pressure on them, and you are laying a price with them, which is a little bit dangerous to do. But in what I think is a pretty bad spot for Chicago, I think it does line up for it. In Montreal, I know that last game was a big game against Toronto. They came close to being Toronto. Overtime loss, difficult loss. That's kind of the other hesitation here, but I think I still like them to get this done. Montembeault should be back in net this time, as Dobes was in net last time. Montembeault is their better goalie and has been pretty good. So that's where we're going to go with that. We're going to go Montreal in that game. We do have Dallas at Detroit. Dallas is only laying a little bit of a price, and Dallas pretty much secure in their spot. Now they are laying minus 125 on the road, 67% of tickets, 76% of the cash coming in on them. I don't know there's a whole lot to even analyze here with the rest of these games at this point, because Dallas, they're basically locked into the 2 at this point. I know Detroit is eliminated as well, but for Detroit, I mean, they might want to play well at home against a good team towards the end of the season here, so it might be more of a motivational spot for Detroit here. And you got to look to see if it's their final home game, because that's kind of an extra motivator as well. If so, and it is, it's their only home game in this final stretch of a whole bunch of road games, and they have a couple of days off. So I think Detroit would be the way to look there. Florida's not laying a huge price either, but they are playing at home. So maybe a little bit less of a spot there, but the Rangers are eliminated. Florida doesn't have a whole lot to play for either at this point, although I think they could change their standing. They could actually get ahead of Tampa Bay, which I don't know how much of a motivator that really is. Money is coming in on Florida, up from minus 153 to minus 160, 83% of the cash, 81% of tickets going against. So Montreal, by the way, insanely public, but they've been driven up from minus 235 to minus 270. I think it's a situation where the public and professionals are just both on Montreal. Public probably not laying a huge money line price like that, so I'm not as concerned about that. And then we do have LA and Edmonton. I mean, this is a big game. Edmonton down from minus 111 to minus 106, but LA getting a lot of the public action here, not of the cash. So it does look like Edmonton is kind of an anti-public home favorite here, but there's no way I'd want to play Edmonton after they just beat Winnipeg, man. I mean, that was a huge win for Edmonton. This is a big game as well, as they could actually flip in the standings and overtake the Kings if they get this game, I think. So there is motivation on the Edmonton standpoint, from the Edmonton standpoint here. And it is their final home game. So I wouldn't want to fade Edmonton in this spot either. But we'll see what happens, man. It looks like Skinner finally came back from injury. So I don't know who's going to be in net. It's probably going to be Picard in net this time for Edmonton, because that was last night. So that's the other problem with Edmonton, is they're playing 3 games in 4 days, 4 games in 6 days, 5 games in 8 days, actually, all in different cities. And actually 6 games in 10 days, all in different cities as well. So they've been playing way too many games for my liking, coming off that huge win over Winnipeg. I think the spot is a little bit difficult for them. And again, with LA, I think the spot sets up maybe a little bit better for them, but they are coming off a big win as well over Colorado, and Edmonton is the team that's behind them that could be a little bit more motivated because of that. Although LA is going out on the road for a quick road trip here. And when you start the road trip, like I say, you're usually a pretty focused team. So again, we will see what happens there. And as far as the standings are concerned, I will say Calgary won again last night. So they are still hanging around. They're 3 games out of the last wild card behind the Blues there. So crazy situation developing there maybe in the Western Conference. Let's go over to Major League Baseball. We're at 5 plays. It's like I can't control myself, man. I have plays in so many games. Not Washington, Pittsburgh, although this does look like a huge pitching mismatch with Paul Skeens being an ace. And he doesn't have Washington has not really seen him that much, although the couple of hitters that Washington does have that have seen him have actually done pretty well against him. But Skeens, like I said with Crochet yesterday, who did really well, Skeens is still an elite pitcher, man. So I don't care that he's faced like 2 hitters on their team and they're 2 for 5 against him or whatever right now. Skeens should be able to dominate this game, but you're paying a huge price. Everybody knows Skeens at this point. There's a massive tax on him. They're laying over minus 200 now, with more of the ticket percentage than the cash percentage, pretty significantly on Pittsburgh. But I don't want to try my hand with Brad Lord either. Who is this guy? Who knows? He's some young pitcher. I mean, he's off to an okay start this year, but he's basically making like relief appearances and kind of like opener type of starts, I think. Or maybe they're trying to like up his stamina a little bit and let him go deeper into games, but I don't know what's going on with him. So I don't want anything to do with that game. You might get a bullpen game out of Washington there, and I don't really trust their bullpen, so we'll stay away from that, even though, like I said, bullpen games sometimes give me an advantage if a team is used to it and the manager knows how to match those pitchers up against the hitters and keep them off balance. Next up, I do have a play with the San Francisco Giants in this one, even though I know they're coming off a big series over the Yankees, a big win over the Yankees. They're staying out on the East Coast, so I actually think that the travel spot actually helps San Francisco with a short travel there, where Philadelphia's returning home from a road trip that took them down to Atlanta and out to St. Louis. And I know they lost the road trip. They actually didn't do well on the road trip. So people are going to think, oh, Philadelphia back at home, they should bounce back, right? Well, in this spot, I don't really think so. And looking at the bullpens, I mean, the bullpen usage, I think is pretty similar from both teams. So I think I'm kind of discounting the bullpen scenario. I'm not looking at the bullpen scenarios a whole lot in these games. I'm factoring in the starting pitching too much in these games, but the market read seems to agree with me on every one but one of these games. This one especially, with Philly down from minus 135 to minus 111, 84% of tickets, only 67% of the cash. So the public not buying into this early hot start from the Giants, even though they do have the better record here. The public likes the Phillies name. They know they're basically in the playoffs every year, so they want nothing to do with this Giants team. And I think it's because they don't know who Landon Raup is, or Roop, however you pronounce his name. But I think he is the better of these two pitchers. I like him in this pitching matchup, obviously. I think the bullpens are a little bit of a wash in this one. So not there's no like lopsided usage for the bullpens after yesterday's game, one way or the other. Philly traveling might hurt them a little bit more. Looking at Landon Roop here, I mean, he's off to a good start with a 3.6 ERA. His 1.5 whip is bad. He's got to get that down, but that was mostly because he had 4 walks in 4 innings against Houston, and he still was able to limit the damage in that game and strike out 2 guys an inning in that game, 8 strikeouts. So his strikeout numbers have been good, and then in his game against Cincinnati, I know they haven't been hitting well, but he only allowed 1 run. So this guy's off to a pretty good start, man. This might be his first full season as a starter. I know his whip was too high last year, also pretty much because he walked too many guys. So he's got to get that under control. It's because his breaking pitches are insane, man. His breaking pitches can really fool hitters, but they have like a ton of movement on them, but they are kind of hard to control. So that's really what you're going to get out of him. But he's facing the Phillies, and the Phillies, I believe, have never seen him before. So that's an advantage to a young pitcher like Roop, where when the starting lineup has not seen that pitcher before, and they're a good young pitcher with good stuff, I always say that's an advantage to that pitcher early on in the game, because the hitters could be off balance. They don't know what to expect. They haven't seen this guy's stuff in an actual game. So I'm going to go with Roop's side of this. I think he has a huge advantage over Taijuan Walker, even though I think maybe part of the reason the public likes this is because it's the Phillies. But then Taijuan Walker has a 0 ERA so far this year. I mean, he beat Colorado. I don't think we really care about that. And then he kind of struggled. He was playing an escape artist in this game against the Braves, man. He only went 4 2/3 and threw 94 pitches. Not a good start. He was very inefficient with his pitches in that game, and he walked 3 guys and gave up 5 hits. So he put 8 men on base against a Braves lineup that's been kind of struggling, and he somehow escaped that, giving up no runs. And when you see a start like that, I mean, that kind of indicates that this pitcher is kind of he's on borrowed time a little bit here. And if you look at his numbers with the Phillies recently, I mean, it hasn't been good. He pitched a full season 2 seasons ago and had a 1.31 whip, 4.38 ERA in his first season with Philly. That wasn't good. And then last year, basically half a season worth, he had a 7.1 ERA and 1.72 whip, was just awful. So I don't see any signs of it correcting itself, and he is getting up there in age. So part of the reason he was decent early on in his career for some of these, even though his whip was always way too high, I think, but always putting way too many men on base. But the reason why he was effective early on, I think, was because his velocity was pretty good, but I think he's kind of losing some of that as well. So I don't like any of that. And he doesn't have terrible numbers against, who are we talking about? The Giants. 58 at bats worth. He does have a 14-8 strikeout walk ratio, though, so that's way too many walks again. But he has held them to a 259 average, which really isn't bad, and a 693 OPS isn't really that bad either. But I still have my reservations about Walker, man, because I don't think he's a very good pitcher. He is the much more familiar pitcher to these hitters here, so I do think the advantage goes to the Giants in that game, both situationally, as I already explained, because of the return home spot, and because Roop, however you pronounce it, I think does have the edge, having never been seen before, and I think he's the better pitcher at this point as well. Next up, I am going to play on my Boston Red Sox. They're traveling to Tampa, but I think this is a good thing for Boston, as they just lost a series to the White Sox, including an embarrassing 11-1 loss. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I think it was good that they were able to get the win yesterday, so now they get that win. They actually saved their bullpen as well, because Crochet went into the 8th inning, so not a lot of bullpen usage for the Red Sox yesterday. And getting that win will help break that losing momentum a bit. It'll help give them a little bit of confidence. I know it didn't really help them with that Toronto game, going into that White Sox game coming up off of that. But I actually played the White Sox in that game. I think this is a completely different scenario where the Red Sox are now coming off an ugly series loss. There wasn't a divisional battle like this was against Toronto. This is just an ugly series against probably the worst team in baseball, or still one of the worst teams in baseball. Maybe it's the Rockies now. Red Sox, I think it'll do them well to get that win, give them some momentum now, a little bit of confidence back, moving out on the road to face Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is staying at home, but they are coming off a pretty hard-fought series against the Braves. So even though they don't have any travel, I think that's a little bit difficult for them. And I know Tampa, I mean, I think they have a little bit less home advantage, too, because they're playing in that Yankees spring training stadium this year, because Tropicana got destroyed by the hurricane. Although Tampa is going to be used to playing there, of course, because they keep playing there this year. But these American League teams, or these Eastern teams, I should say, the teams that are in the East, like Boston, are used to playing in that stadium as well, because they play there during spring training, especially early on in the season. So the Red Sox probably played in this stadium not that long ago during spring training at some point. So these Eastern teams are a little bit more used to this venue still as well. So it's not like an entirely foreign environment. And with the starting pitching matchup, this is Tanner Houck against Shane Baz. And I know I looked at this matchup and I was like, I kind of want Baz in this game. And when I look at it further, I actually don't. And I'm actually going against the market in multiple games today, man. What can you do? This game looks like the Red Sox are a public underdog now with 57% of tickets, only 51% of the cash. I mean, the Red Sox have the name behind them, and people still remember Houck being an all-star, I think. And they might think that he's kind of back because his numbers aren't that bad this year so far. At least I don't think his ERA is. So the public is going to be on them, I think, because they don't like Tampa. They don't like teams that don't hit well, which Tampa does not, although the Red Sox have not hit well either so far this year, even though they have a lot of offensive talent. Tampa up from -120 to -122, moving against the public. So it does look like the Red Sox are a public underdog. And I'm still going to play them here because I think the spot works out well for them. I think the Red Sox have the more rested bullpen, even though Tampa does have a good bullpen. They used a little bit more of it yesterday. And the starting pitching matchup, even though I don't like Houck, and like I said, I like the situation a little bit better. Houck, yeah, his ERA isn't really that good. His whip is pretty bad at 1.47, 4.41 whip. I mean, Houck has not been good since the All-Star break last year. I mean, I think winning the All-Star game really hurt him, but he may start be trending in the right. He may start to be trend. It may be the case that he's starting to trend in the right direction again. Let's put it that way. I can't speak anymore. Putting together a 6 2/3 1-run performance against Toronto his last time out. Only 2 strikeouts though, which is a little bit of a red flag that he's not striking guys out. But he was limiting the damage, and it is still the case. He hasn't allowed more than 4 runs in any start, so he's at least limited the damage when he's been in there. I don't think he's that good, but against Tampa, I think he does have the upper hand, even though Tampa's seen him in 59 at-bats worth. He's got a 19-5 strikeout walk ratio against him, and it's held him to a very low 203 average and 514 OPS. So Tanner Houck has actually done well against Tampa, so I like that. And then Shane Baz, I think he is the better pitcher generally. He's a young pitcher. He's got good stuff. I think he's better than Houck. He's off to a really nice start this season. There's no doubt about that. 16-4 strikeout walk ratio, but in his last start against Anaheim, he did go 7 innings, allowed 2 runs, only allowed 3 hits. That's all good, but he walked 4 guys, which is a little bit of a red flag that maybe he has some wildness right now, even though overall he has really good numbers of the 1.38 ERA, 1.08 whip this year. Against the Red Sox, though, the Red Sox have actually done well against him. So Baz has the upper hand in a lot of these games. I played him in at least one of those games because a lot of these offenses that he's facing have never seen him before. So he does have the upper hand more so in some of those games. But against the Red Sox, that is not the case, as he's got 34 at-bats worth, and he's allowed 3 home runs to them, although 2 of them are from Casas. Bregman is 5 for 7 off him with the other home run, though. So again, player prop potential there with Bregman and Casas, as they seem to match up pretty well against Baz. Overall, Baz has a lot of 294 average and 951 OPS to the Red Sox, which is pretty bad. So I think the Red Sox do have the upper hand there. So I'm going to be on my Boston Red Sox in that game. Let's keep going. Next up, I am going to play on Kansas City as well as an underdog, plus 125, getting some value here, fading a home favorite in the Yankees here. I mean, of course, the Yankees are going to be public, so we get to fade the public here as well. Yankees up from -120 to -136. They get 80% of tickets and only 56% of the cash. So we are going against a public Yankees team here with a lot less of the cash on them. And I agree with fading the Yankees here. I know they're coming off a pretty difficult series against the Giants. Kansas City is having to travel, but I think it's fine because, again, Kansas City, yeah, I know it was a divisional battle, but you're not going to overlook the Yankees, man. Like with the Red Sox, I thought they were going to overlook the White Sox, which they did, and the pitching matchup was bad for them. So I'm looking at the pitching matchup here. I think the pitching matchup is pretty bad for the Yankees, which we'll see in a second. Kansas City, I think that win over Cleveland will help give them some momentum going forward here, as they were playing pretty badly in that series at Cleveland. They finally got the win. They get to bring that win out with them, kind of like just like with the Red Sox. They get to take that win with them on the road into this game. Not huge bullpen usage for either team, although I know the Yankees do have the better bullpen out of the two. But I think just the situation and the starting pitching matchup, I think, can balance it out, put it over the top, and we won't worry too much about the bullpens here, hopefully. That I'm saying all this, hopefully some of these games don't win for me in the first 5 innings and wind up losing full game, because I'm on full game at all of these. Seth Lugo is pitching for Kansas City, and although he might be taking a little bit of a step back, 1.26 whip, 3.24 ERA is pretty good. He's 35 years old now, so I know he could regress a little bit, but throughout his career, he actually hasn't had numbers that were that far off from his pretty good season last year. So I don't know that he's really in line for a huge regression, although I know he's walked too many guys this year. 7 walks to 12 strikeouts so far. in 16 and 2/3, and he's definitely limited the damage. So he's got to get those walk numbers down, as that really hasn't been that much of a problem for him throughout his career. I don't think he's had pretty decent control. So I think in that respect, he might be able to get that back a little bit. And against the Yankees, they got 65 at bats worth against them, and it hasn't been that good. They do have 3 home runs against them, but it's really Goldschmidt is the guy that does all the damage against him. As you look at these other guys, Jazz Chisholm's 1 for 13, Judge 0 for 11 off him. So really, it's just Goldschmidt is the guy who wrecks him. Other than that, even including him, Lugo holds the Yankees to a 200 average and 606 OPS, 17-6 strikeout walk ratio. So Lugo has historically done pretty well against them. If you want to look for Goldschmidt player props, you can go ahead and do that. But I mean, who do we really think is the better of these two starting pitchers here between him and 38-year-old Carlos Carrasco? You want to talk about a guy who I think his career is coming towards an end here? I think it's this guy, Carrasco. I mean, he's been bad for 2 seasons now. He pitched most of a season for the Mets 2 years ago and had a 6.8 ERA in 20 starts, 1.7 ERA. That's a big sample size, and he struggled massively. Last year, 21 starts, 5.64 ERA, 1.4 whip, bad. And this year, so far in 3 appearances, 2 starts, he's got a 7.71 ERA and 1.63 whip, 7.71, I should say. So Carrasco, I mean, again, I think he's coming to an end here, man, even though his strikeout rate is actually pretty good this year, and still his numbers have been awful. And he's only gone 5 innings once against Arizona, which was a game against a decent offense at home, but he has just not been doing well. I know he allowed 3 home runs in his last game, so maybe that game looks worse than it actually was. But Carrasco, I mean, he hasn't been a good pitcher for years. I don't think he is. I think he's just a body, basically, because, I mean, the Yankees are without Garrett Cole now, so they need other guys to fill in there. It's not a good situation, and because Carrasco was on Cleveland last year, well, the Kansas City Royals have faced him. They're pretty familiar with him. He's done okay against them at 55 at-bats, but still a 273 average. And the OPS is just a little bit too high, I think. 753 OPS. So Kansas City hits him pretty well. I think Lugo does have the decided advantage in that starting pitching matchup. Let's try to get this done, man. Grant Holmes for Atlanta. I mean, I don't trust him, even though I think Toronto has limited experience against him. I think the couple of hitters that have seen him have actually done well against him. Easton Lucas is probably the better of the 2 pitchers and is completely unknown to Atlanta, so he should have the advantage early on. So maybe an under would make sense there, but I don't trust Holmes, man. He doesn't go deep in a game, so I'll stay away. Skubal against Alexander in this game obviously has the edge. Skubal is an absolute ace. I mean, Tyler Alexander is terrible, but Tyler Alexander hasn't been seen that much by Detroit, so that's just the hesitation that I have there. But I don't trust him to keep that game under a low total of 7.5 either. Clay Holmes against Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan has done really well against the Mets in his career, and he is a good pitcher. I probably trust him more, as Clay Holmes is kind of an older dude now and was basically a career reliever who's now starting for the Mets, so I wouldn't trust him. Next up, I am going to play, though, an actual play on St. Louis here against Houston. Houston's got the public action, 71% of tickets, only 70% of the cash. So a very public road favorite here. They are up from -113 to -116. Even though they're off to not a great start, St. Louis has been kind of mediocre as well. And the public, they like Houston. I think they like Framber Valdez, and they don't put much stock into Sonny Gray. But St. Louis is staying at home. I know they just had a big win over Philadelphia, but I don't think they're really going to have a letdown with Houston coming into their place, and with Valdez, with Sonny Gray on the mound for them. That should help them a little bit. In Houston, they're starting a road trip, which is usually a focus spot. I know that's usually a decent spot to be in, but they are coming off a nice divisional series win. And Framber Valdez, I know I took a loss playing against him before, but when he had a bad matchup, but I'm going to do it again here. I mean, he's coming off a good divisional win. He's been good this season so far, but I mean, that was at Seattle, which is a pitcher-friendly park. This is only going to be his second road game of the season, and it's not in Seattle anymore, man. So he has walked 7 guys, 4 of them in 5 innings against the Giants. So his walk numbers are a little bit high, even though he has not been hittable with 10 hits allowed in 18 innings. That's pretty good for him. He's got really good numbers this year, 2.5 ERA, 0.94 whip so far. But against St. Louis, even though a lot of their guys haven't seen him, the guys that have in 16 at-bats have done well against him with 2 walks, only 1 strikeout, a 312 average, and 826 OPS. So limited sample size, but Valdez has not done well against him. Sonny Gray, on the other hand, 4.5 ERA, but he's got a really low 0.88 whip. So his whip is actually indicative that his ERA should be better than it is. He hasn't walked anybody in his last 2 starts, 13-0 strikeout walk ratio over that span, 19-2 on the season so far, and only 12 hits allowed in 16 innings, 4 home runs. So he's got to get those home runs in line. I mean, that's kind of his issue, is that he allows home runs. And other than that, he's a good starter, even though he's 35 now, and he's a tiny guy on the mound, tiny relatively at 5'10", but he's been a good pitcher throughout his career, and he's got 81 at-bats against Houston, 23-6 strikeout walk ratio, 247 average against them, and 607 OPS. So he has done well against them. And then finally, I got the Padres. I'm going against the market here, man, in this one. And I don't understand what the market sees here. San Diego's got Dylan Cease on the mound, and they've dropped from -162 to -152. 85% of tickets, only 57% of the cash. So San Diego's public, and it looks like the money is coming in on the Cubs. I don't understand this whatsoever. I think the situation is terrible for the Cubs. I mean, they just played the night game on ESPN and beat the Dodgers again. So they just beat the Dodgers in a series. They beat them 16-0 and then beat them on ESPN's Sunday night game. And whenever a team does that, you want to look to immediately go against them because they played the late game last night, so they're a little bit less rested, and they're in a bit of a letdown spot. And I think that's got to be the case with Chicago. San Diego, they're just staying at home, and yeah, they just had a divisional sweep, and they didn't allow any runs. So that does definitely look good. It looks like domination, but it was against the awful Colorado Rockies. Like, do you really think San Diego is going to be overconfident after that? With a really good Cubs team that just beat the Dodgers coming into their place? I don't think so. And then look at the starting pitching matchup here. Jamison Taillon has a 6.06 ERA and 1.35 whip so far. He's been awful so far this season. He hasn't been that good in recent seasons. And against the Padres, 111 at-bats, we're a 306 batting average allowed, 778 OPS. So the Padres have hit him quite well. So he does not have a good matchup there either. So the situation and the starting pitching matchup looks awful for the Cubs. I don't get it. Dylan Cease has been awful so far this year. We know this. 7.98 ERA, 1.57 whip. This guy is a really good pitcher, man. So I think you'd be insane to not think he's going to turn it around. He had a really good start against Cleveland, only allowing 1 run, 7-1 strikeout walk ratio. Even overall, 18-6 strikeout walk ratio. His issue was he had a really bad start in that weird Sacramento stadium, which is known for being a hitter-friendly park there, that AAA stadium. That was just a weird situation for him, I think, where he just didn't pitch well. 3 walks allowed in that game. I think we can kind of throw that out. I think that's an outlier. And he's alternated good and bad starts so far, so that would put him in line for a good start here. We know he's a good pitcher, much better than this, so I don't put much stock into that, even though the A's offense sucks. That's just a weird environment to be pitching in. He's back in the pitcher-friendly confines of San Diego now, man. And up against, I was looking at how he does against his own team. Up against the Cubs, he's dominated them. In 53 at-bats, he's only allowed 8 hits, 22-9 strikeout walk ratio, 151 average, and 519 OPS allowed. So we're going to go with that. And then, of course, the Dodgers are going to want to bounce back from last night, but they have less rest, but they have May on the mound, and they have a decided pitching edge over Senzatella and a terrible Colorado team. But do you want to lay over -300 with the Dodgers? Probably not. That's going to do it for me, man. Tower Gang Toad on Twitter, patreon.com/Tower Gang. Have a good one. Peace.